Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third night of this year's International Dance Week Festival, put on by Free Flow Dance Theatre Company under the artistic direction of Jackie Latendresse. Please give Jackie a hand for all this work. So it's a beautiful day out there, and there's lots happening in the city. So really appreciate you all coming to share this time with us tonight. Something about dance is that it's a relationship between the dancers and the audience. The audience is an integral part of the experience for the performers, and it's hopefully a shared space where we can all experience a little bit of hopefully transformation, a little bit of growth. In contemporary dance, the artists are very thoughtful. They really explore different topics. And that really resonates with me. My name is Scott Duffy. I'm Machifnia. I'm a Métis from Saskatoon. And my Métis ancestors really understood this concept of being interconnected. And there was a lot of compassion, inclusion in our culture. That's why I have this shirt on: inclusion, compassion, interconnectedness. And the dancers tonight really resonated with me because they're exploring the concept of interconnectedness. At least that's my own interpretation of it. And as I reflect on that, I think of how lucky we are to have the opportunity to explore these things and to share with each other and to dance at all and to witness dance. How lucky we are to live on this land. The land feeds us. It gives us everything. Really, when I think about it, I really owe my very existence to this land. This is where I live. This is where I love. This is where I connect as best as I can. And this is Cree territory. This is Nahiwak lands. This is Métis homeland territory. This is the traditional territory of the Nakota and the Anishinaabe. This is also the traditional territory of the Lakota and Dakota and of the Dene peoples. So it's a real gift that we can be here, and that's something I always reflect on. And another gift that's happening tonight is what the performers are offering to us. They're both prolific artists. And our first artist is Lucy Rupert. I had a chance to visit with Lucy today, and she was telling me about how she's exploring themes in science and concepts in science, and the new science that is starting to realize how interconnected we all are. So Lucy's piece is called Q. That's short for quantum. Please welcome Lucy Rupert. told you it'd be good. Thanks, Lucy. Beautiful, beautiful work. So our next artist, like I said, is also a very prolific artist. However, most of her work is in the spoken word and the written word. I'm talking about Peace Akintade, who is currently Saskatchewan's Poet Laureate. But she also has some experience in contemporary dance, and she has a lot of courage because she found it within herself to incorporate contemporary dance into her poetic material. That's a big deal. She collaborated with Jackie Latendresse, and they developed this piece, which is called Invisible, Invincible. Please welcome Peace Akintade. Thank you.
When I was 5, my mother whispered stories into the dark, folding us into the space between her breath and the mattress. Foxes with clever tongues, blind women who knew more than the sky allowed. She built a foundation of words, layered folklore like bricks, so we could not crumble, so we would not be like the wind. But I became the wind, drifting between faces that never looked too long, moving with the weight of knowing that if I did not arrive, if I did not perform, if I did not pour myself out, no one would know that I was missing. I wake up some days, and the world does not move with me. My body sunk deep in sheets, a breath caught in the ribs, heaviness pressing me into the earth. I disappear, and when I return, no one has noticed. They have clapped at my absence, called it brilliance, devoured my presence, without ever seeing the bones, the herbs and mental taste of exhaustion. I am invincible, I am invisible. To be unseen is a quiet kind of death, not the sharp ending, not the farewell, but the slow unraveling of self, a body folding into air, a voice slipping between the cracks in the world. If I stopped speaking, would they know I was ever here? If I stopped speaking, would they know I was ever here? A voice slipping between the cracks in the world, a body folding into air, but a slow unraveling of self, not the farewell, not the sharp end, and to be unseen is a quiet kind of death. They only listen when it howls, but no one watches the wind. I move with the wind. The herbs of metal taste of exhaustion. The bones devoured my presence without ever seeing, called it brilliance. They have clapped at my absence, and when I return, no one has noticed. I disappear, heaviness pressing me into the earth. No one would know I was missing if I would not pour myself out, if I would not perform, if I would not arrive, moving with the weight of knowing, drifting between faces that never looked too long. I become the wind. So it would not be the wind. I am invisible. I am I roots beneath the ground? Am I deliverance to mankind? Am I structure? Am I stability? Am I pleasure? Are we tired? Are we steadfast? Are we a gift? Are you a gift? Are we invincible? Are we invincible? Am I invincible? Am I? Am I? Am I?
And dawn. And dawn is the aftermath of patience during a forest fire. I wait, I stay. Allowing the ashes to cause the damage. Allowing the embers to scorch my sepia skin. And I wait for the willows to whisper a prayer. I wait for the lilies to whisper hymns. I wait for the fingers to emerge, professing my name. And I am the break of light. I am star-crossed lovers. I am Roman mythology. I am invisible. I am invincible. Light. Lovers. Mythology. Invisible. Invincible. And I am dawn. And dawn is a space for mothers, for sisters, for daughters, for my grandpa's favorite nieces. For the girls who have grown up too fast and have forgotten the feeling of the sun caressing their swollen cheeks. And I wait for the middle school chants. I wait for the squeals of gossiping muses. I wait for the lies to form, filled with questioning non-believers asking for my name. But I am the break of light. I am star-crossed lovers. I am Roman mythology. I am invisible. I am invincible. And I want you to forget that love returns in the fall. Love returns in the dawn.
Okay, I'm going to start with you, Lucy, because you've had a bit of a break.
I have.
Okay, thank you.
It was a beautiful break, though, because I got to experience this. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. So, Lucy Rupert, can you please tell me a little bit about your practice, where you currently reside, and some of the things that you've been doing in your dance practice as of late?
Well, I'm based in Toronto. I've been in Toronto since 1996, so I'm officially a Torontonian, but I grew up in a small town in Ontario called Sarnia, which is across the river from Michigan. And I guess, well, I started off my career with Jackie's company in Kitchener-Waterloo, and Jackie, from the beginning, really encouraged me to choreograph and dream outside of dancing for other people as well as dancing for other people. And over the years, that has pushed me in many different directions, but for the last decade, it's really solidly been in exploring theoretical physics, cosmology, neurobiology, and a little bit of complexity theory as starting points to make dances. So and this dance tonight is actually choreographed by another Toronto choreographer who is a community leader and an exquisite artist, Yvonne. And I commissioned her to make something about quantum flux, which is a bit wild to try to embody quantum flux or any theoretical science with one little tiny body. But for me, it's never about describing the science or trying to explain it through dance, but just to figure out what the ideas of science and how bodies in motion can take on those ideas that are so huge and so abstract, and what that might reveal about humanity rather than what it might reveal about science.
Thank you. I'm following. I'm following
Okay,
along.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a weirdo and a nerd, so
No,
if I
this is-
stray, just
This
pull
is
me
good
back.
stuff. But I got to let that sit for a minute, and I'm going to ask you. You have your own studio in Toronto, is that right?
I don't have my own studio. I have a dance company. It's like a pickup company. When there's grants and money, we get together and make some stuff. Of late, it's been a lot of solo work, either commissioning or creating solos for myself, just because, as everyone in Canada knows who are involved in the arts, it's pretty dire at the moment. So making solos right now is a really cost-effective way to explore some of my ideas before I get too old to do it anymore.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
the name of your company?
Blue Ceiling Dance.
Blue Singing Dance. Okay. Okay. This question I had, it's ready. It's ready
Okay,
here.
bring it on.
So what in the heck did you learn from studying science that inspired your movements in this piece? What did you learn in this? What is it? Theoretics or scientific something
Yeah.
or other?
So many things that I've learned, but one of the things that I really love about science is the language. I think that the language of many of the sciences, and particularly cosmology and theoretical physics, like the really big out in the universe ideas, the language is really poetic. And I find that's kind of where I started choreographing, was from like poetry or paintings or literature because of the words. And then I started reading science and I went, oh my God, what's a coronal mass ejection? That's like a crazy term. Like, what does that mean? How do you do that as a dancer? It's a solar flare, but it's just a fancy terminology. But those words get me really excited. And I like taking words and then figuring out what sensations or impulses they drive in me, and then either give them to myself or give them to other dancers that I'm working with. But in a more practical way, I think of all the science things that I've investigated, the thing that keeps coming back is the interconnectivity. Complexity theory has a lot to do with many different systems working and interpenetrating all the time, right? And these are things that have been said by people here on Earth for thousands of years, and now science is coming at it from a different direction and saying, oh yeah, all this stuff that seemed like spirituality and religion actually is mirrored in what we're finding out in science, and like these hard, not hard, but supposedly more pinned down sort of fields. But they're not really. Science is just as messy as art and religion are too.
Thank you so much. That really settles in nicely for me. Much
I'm glad.
appreciated. Yes. So now I would like to move to Peace Akintade and Jackie Latendresse. So this is a question, I guess I'll start with you, Jackie. How long has the collaboration with Peace been happening for?
For this particular work, we started working on it last year, so we've actually been working on it for almost a year, but we took a little break over the winter, and then we had this opportunity coming up for International Dance Week. We got together again, and over the past about month and a half, we created the first 2 sections. And so the initial version was just the final section with the live spoken word, and we decided that we wanted to break down the ideas of invincible, invisible separately, and then also bring them together in the end.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Peace, how did you settle on the title for this choreography?
It was Jackie that actually settled on the title and came with me with that idea right off the bat of having Invisible and Invincible. And it just was a wild coincidence that I just wrote the last piece, the poem, I Am Dawn, based on like hidden parts of nature and how they represent me. And it kind of really worked out very well. I just had to add the I am invisible, I am invincible to like the very middle of it, and we had a poem. And so it kind of worked really well with each other, and that's when we knew that the collaboration needed to happen. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So you're a prolific writer and a prolific speaker. You're Saskatchewan's poet laureate at the moment. I mean, you've got some serious cred happening. Yeah, and
Thank you.
congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Very well deserved.
Oh, thanks.
What is your previous experience with contemporary dance?
Yeah, so very long ago, as in 4 years ago, about before COVID, I used to be kind of like a poet and also dancer for another dance company. And I would do shows with them where I would write little snippets of poetry to someone's dance, and then also write poetry for me to dance to. And then I would join their team whenever they were dancing, and then they would join me whenever I have to do like a poetry event. So, for example, I did. It was my first like actual debut show where it was an hour of just me and my friends, and we did a show at Shakespeare Saskatchewan, and we had dancers throughout the entire show. And so that was my first time really working as like a dancer and then artistic director for things like that. And then poetry kind of took over the need for me. You know, while working with the dance troupe, I realized that I just really loved sitting down. I've been sitting down and not moving and and writing, you know. And so I don't know how it happened, but 4 to 5 years has passed, and this is the first time that I've actually moved my body as a dancer in those years. So that's to say, today was nerve-wracking. Today was nervous, but we made it through, and now I'm doing what I love. I'm sitting, and, and it feels real good.
Well said. Well said. No. So, in your prolific career of writing, can you describe a little bit about your artistic journey and how that led up to the themes in this particular piece of choreography?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot. I feel like most of our rehearsals was sitting and talking about what each themes mean to us. And, you know, my journey with being a poet, with being an artist, has very much been from like starting from the ground up and kind of forcing my way in, which is the theme of invisible, invincible. Like I had to be invisible. I had to go to open mics and kind of sit in the corner, you know, and wait for my turn to be able to get up on stage for 3 minutes. You know, I had to be invincible by like going to the legislative building and talking about very, very hard topics, you know, but in a way that made people feel good. And, you know, I had to be strong in places that really did not want me to be there. And then be like soft in places that did want me to be there. And so all of those themes kind of came into that first poem, I Am Dawn. It was my, so when I got the poet laureate position, I had to write a kind of an inaugural poetry. So like a poem that represents me. And it was when I wrote I Am Dawn. So that's the one that I spoke out loud, was that one. Because I felt like it. It felt like when I got that, the title, it felt like dawn. And it just was so beautiful that literally not even 3 days after, Jackie was like, guess what? Guess what we could do? You know, I got these 2 words. And it just worked out really well. And so it really shows my journey of like starting out with listening to stories from my mom, so like the first piece, and then having to figure things out, the enjoyment of it in the second piece, and then finally coming in as Dawn in the last part.
And it was a beautiful piece. Yeah. Jackie, this next question is for you. What was your experience of turning pieces written word into dance? Was it an experience of resonance, an experience of interpretation? How would you characterize it?
You know, it was really quite a collaborative process. As Peace mentioned, we talked a lot in our rehearsals, and I think that we didn't want to do a literal interpretation of the words. We tried to find the feeling behind the words, the subtext behind the words, and we had lengthy discussions how strength can be found in both invisibility and invincibility, especially in terms of women and gender construct for female. Those two elements are a fine balancing act and intertwined and connected with each other through the quiet moments and the strong moments. And then we talked a little bit about, pieces doing some bodybuilding. So we wanted to put some muscular things in there. And
You could see the dress.
the dress is disguising it, but she looks buff. And we talked about personal stories of invisibility and invincibility and came up with the movement vocabulary based a lot on our personal experiences.
Next question for you, Peace. Did you find it was your artistic journey or lived experience or a combination of both? Like, what were you able to express in this piece?
I think it has to be a bit of both. Like the one that resonates really well with me is the first part, the one laying on the floor and then coming about and circling around. It's such a simple movement, swirling, but it reminds me of childhood. It reminds me of like what was the very start of joy is when you're a kid and you're just swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling. My moms are talking to me and I'm swirling, and I got in trouble a lot for swirling. And like, that just feels like
Same.
the close, yeah, I know. What is about that? Let's think about it, okay? But I'm trying to be serious, guys. I truly believe that childhood joy, discovering childhood joy again, helps me in my artistic journey because things get way too bottled up in the details. And I feel like this piece is all about kind of remembering why you're doing it. Like every single movement, especially the second part, I remember Jackie kept on telling me that you need to smile in the second part, you need to find joy. And I was like, Jackie, the world. I can find joy in the world. But just doing the movement of like circling around and dancing with my body, even if I don't feel the joy, I can still remember why that movement makes me feel happy. And, the smile today was genuine and it hasn't really been genuine the entire rehearsal process, but
It's been a tough time period for artists and people in general, but yes, it's lovely when you can find joy through movement and also when you can bring it back from your childhood memories and your experiences of your past that bring back that nostalgic joyfulness.
exactly.
Okay, well, I could seriously sit and visit with all of you for 3 or 4 hours, so I'm going to try to hold back a little bit. And I'm just going to get some information on the details, like who made the music for your piece, Lucy, and how did that work? Like,
Well, the composer is a wonderful Canadian composer who lives in Brooklyn, named Yasha Narvison. And I think he'll forgive me for making that face because he has a good sense of humor. He's an old friend of mine, and I started using him almost exclusively as a composer about 7 or 8 years ago. And now his wife also composes for me. So he was the lone composer for that one. And basically we told him, make some music that's about quantum flux. And he made some and sent it to Yvonne, the choreographer. And she said, can you do this and do that here and there? And he did in like 10 minutes, send it back. And then I said, could you please put a little sound cue about 2 minutes from the end so I know if I've taken 3 minutes to do the whole piece or if, I'm running out of time. And he did that. And he's just like the most laid back, cool, brainiac kind of. He also loves science. He's a nerd. So, yeah. That's the kind of darky answer that I'll give you.
So somehow it almost speaks to that theme of interconnectedness too,
Yeah.
somehow how that process works.
Yeah.
At least that's what comes
It
to
does.
mind
It's
for me.
like through the Ethernet,
Yeah.
right? Like it's all, we're never in the room together.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Who was in charge of connecting with the musician between yourself and Peace? Was that you, Jackie?
Yes, our composer is Cliff Burns from Battleford, and I've been working with Cliff Burns on a number of different projects over the past probably 7 or 8 years. And then we had Peace add in the vocalization, the words, as well as some of the other sound effects, including the drum beats in the second section.
Yeah, I actually, so every morning I do this thing where I write constantly. And so the scribbles of writing that you hear is like me in the morning. So I did a little recording of all the scribbles that I wrote. So there's little sound effects of like breathing, the tiny whispers. It was lovely that I was able to add to Cliff's work to kind of make this piece what it is, very unique.
Amazing. And where can we find, you've got some upcoming works happening, is that right?
Oh, okay.
For poetry, because it is Poetry Month. So
Yes, so this whole month was Poetry Month. This is actually the last thing that I'll be doing for Poetry Month. And then I'll be taking the last 3 days so that all the other poets can do something for Poetry Month. But for me, they'll see it in the live stream. For May 2nd, I'm releasing my volume of chapbooks. So over the years, I've been doing little tiny chapbooks that I never sell. I just give it out to people. So now I'm actually creating and putting it all together. And it's all about Sonder, which is so great because it works well with your piece. I got so inspired. And it's all about Sonder, the idea that you are in a party and everybody else is experiencing that party with you. And you stop for a moment and you're like, wow, guys, we're really living life together. And that's Sonder. So it's all about loneliness in Sonder.
wow.
Yeah.
It's all connected. Well, I would ask you three to please take a bow because this was a wonderful, wonderful evening. So again, thank you all for being here. I would like to thank the Government of Canada for funding this show. I would like to thank Sask Arts, Sask Culture, SaskLotteries for providing funding for this show. And I would also like to thank the International Women of Saskatoon for helping us out with volunteer work, and 5x5 Audio Visual for their expertise and their immense effort in making this all come together in the way that it has. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Have a wonderful evening.